Hi, my name is Sydney Newman Anderson, and William Michael Jones is my brother. He was born in 1945, and I was born 14 years later. One of my first memories of my brother, he probably looked about like this. He's about 18 years old here. I was 4, and that's my parents' 12th anniversary celebration. My first memories of Michael is that he was my favorite person on the planet. I loved him most in the world when I was a little kid. He could sing, he could play the piano, he was an artist, he could make fudge, he was a really good cook. So, of course he was my favorite. He was a lot of fun. And although there are stories about Michael that I didn't have memories of, and one of my favorite stories about him before I was born was that when he was little, probably around this age, I think he's probably 6 or 7 in that picture, I'm not sure, but my mom and my dad would both say that he would be able to entertain them on long trips. They said he would start a story at the beginning of their trip, and he wouldn't stop talking till they got to the destination, long trip. He was always able to entertain and engage people. But the thing I think he loved most in the world, he was multi-talented, but the thing I think he loved most in the world was music. I do remember that he could just play for hours. He would, sit at the piano, and even though he couldn't read music, he didn't need to. He knew rhythm and music and tones, and he just loved playing the piano. And he did get that gift from our mother. She used to play in nightclubs in the 1940s, and Michael was able to continue that talent. He did sing. Mom wanted him to be like a Frank Sinatra kind of singer, but he wanted to do R&B, which was fine. I remember he, sang at my junior prom. I was part of the planning committee, and I said my brother had a band, and he played at my prom, and he went on to, write music for Barry White. And I remember I worked in an entertainment company at the time, and we received Billboard magazine, and I remember looking through, and there was my brother's song on the Billboard R&B chart, and one of the songs he'd written for Barry White. In fact, on one of my trips, I was in Paris some years ago, and I met a girl from Greece, and she was talking about how Barry White was her favorite performer, favorite singer, and I was able to say my brother wrote a song for Barry White, which, was quite impressive. And he was impressive. He worked hard at his music and made some strides, and of course it would have been wonderful if he'd been able to do more with it, but I think he did meet some of his goals and have some of his dreams come true, and he was always musical and always able to entertain and keep people engaged, make them happy with his stories, with his food, with his music. One of my first memories about his music was that I could fall asleep next to the drums, and he'd have his friends over, and they had a band together, and when it was Michael's turn to babysit, over would come the band players, and I would fall asleep next to the drums. Not because the music wasn't good, but I just wanted to be where he was, and I was little, so, what better place than to fall asleep next to some drums. And he loved that story, actually. Now, so fast forwarding to my first memory of Michelle. That was when I was about 20, and Maurice had just been born, and he wasn't even 2 months old yet. It was Christmas Day, and she came over, and the 2 older boys came over, and she was very quiet. And I was 20, like I said, and I spent a few minutes, but then I was going out, so I don't have a lot of memories of that day, but I do remember that they did love each other a lot, and despite all the ups and downs of their lives, they always considered each other the other's best friend. And I remember the story of the first day they met, that they met and they ended up kissing in the car. They were always drawn to each other and attracted to one another, and it began, another part of his life and brought him one of the great joys of his life. As his son Maurice and the girls and Angelica, I know you're like one of his daughters too. So his daughters and Maurice and Phoenix and Sunshine and Angelica brought great joy to him. And second only to the family was his music. And he did love music. He really had a wonderful voice. And I was really glad to be a part of that. I just want to share another picture. And this is, we're talking about early memories. This was Michael again at about 18 at that same event. Those are my dad's parents and Michael when he was about 18. And around that time he was in art school. And this is one of his pieces. It's a bust that he did. He was probably about 20 years old, 20 or 21. And it's something he did of himself, and it does really look like him back in the day. And I think it was my dad's favorite piece. It's definitely my favorite piece. It's our only one we have. Maurice has what survived our family's many moves. The other pieces kind of crumbled through the years. But Michael was very, very talented. So today at your reunion, I hope that when you have a good piece of meat, a good dish, a good pie, or good, something to eat, or you hear some good music, that you think of Michael. And so raise a glass to him and have a wonderful time. And thank you for letting me share. Take care. Bye-bye.